religious inequality, and persecution.
Jews argue that the law violates the Bulgarian constitution on the equal rights of all citizens.
Are we, who were born here and have lived in this land for centuries, whose forefathers have been buried here for many generations, are we to be made aliens under this law?
This is the question that was being raised in almost every letter. To protect us from what? Really, tell us, to protect us from what?
1941. Despite strong opposition, Parliament votes overwhelmingly for the bill, and the King signs it into law. Within a year, the cabinet sets up an agency to create and enforce anti-Jewish regulations. A horde of bureaucrats has unlimited, unchecked power. No duty to inform Parliament about what they are doing, let alone seek approval for major changes in policy. Belef moves swiftly to implement an anti-Jewish agenda. The law to protect the nation does nothing for national security. Its real purpose is to destroy civil liberties by targeting Jews for persecution.
My father's practicing of his profession was only temporary. All other Jews that we knew were no longer working. I had to start wearing this, the Yellow Star of David in early 1942. All Jews above the age of 10 had to wear it. Wearing this on the street was an invitation to the Bulgarian equivalent of the German Hitlerjugend, the German Hitler Youth. They were called Ratnici or Brannici. Whenever they saw a child wearing this, they would approach us, they will slap us in the face, they will rough us up, and then they will kick us and let us continue our way. This happened to me every day on my way to school, to the point that I knew what to expect. I even submitted myself to a few slaps, only in order to be let go.
One of my classmates gave me the hardest punch I've ever had in my life. He literally floored me. That's how strong the punch was. So I sort of got off the floor, and I sat in my place, not able to react or counterpunch. And I asked my benchmate, I said, "What was that about?" He says, "Don't worry about it. Last night he went to the founding meeting of the Nazi youth movement in Bulgaria. And one of the criteria for being admitted to that youth movement is to hurt a Jew."
Italy attacks Greece, but meets stiff resistance. Hitler reacts swiftly to secure the Balkans. Bulgaria becomes pivotal to his plans. He summons King Boris to his alpine resort, where both leaders reach accord on what they want from the other. Bulgaria abandons its neutrality and enters into alliance with the Axis powers. The German army crosses the Danube and camps in Bulgaria. Bulgarian soldiers welcome their comrades in arms. The Bulgarian people turn out to marvel at the panzer divisions.
We're all by the window looking down at the plaza where dozens of tanks and German army trucks were being parked like with a ruler, if you know German precision.
Germany swiftly conquers Greece and Yugoslavia. Hitler allows Bulgaria to occupy a portion of these territories. Bulgaria takes over all aspects of public life in the new territories, from the town hall to the post office, from the schoolhouse to the police station.
Quando entraram os bulgaros, todo o povo pensou que agora é mais bem estar com os bulgaros, senão com os alemães. Mas os bulgaros, do primeiro dia, se mostraram a face de ocupador. Por começar, a nós outros nos fizeram súditos agêneros. Quer dizer, não nos reconhece como súditos bulgaros, de que todas as cidades estavam súditos búlgaros. Los judíos nos fizeram súditos jugoslavos. Nos detinham, assim que podiam fazer com os outros do que querem.
Just as Eichmann seized Jewish property, Belov also loots Jewish assets. To keep Bulgarian Jews in the dark, he orders the seizure of all their radios and telephones, and he imposes a huge tax on everything they own.
E trouxeram a lei que os judeus não podem tocar estes paradas. Trouxeram lei que todos os judeus devem de dar 20% de todo o que têm. Quer dizer, todo fizeram, os escreveram, todos o que têm em casa, o que têm em móvel, o que há coisas e fixadas e coisas que se podem levar, joias e cristais, coisas de valor, cerraram todos os magazéns judeus e os confiscaram. Todos. Nenhum judeu não podia ser empregado à administração dos búlgaros. Nenhum judeu não podia tomar mais a retrete. Depois trouxeram uma lei que cada judeu deve de ter a estrela de David. Isto lo fizeram para de que a todos os judeus nos meteram no gueto.
When a government is willing to rob a person's belongings, deprive a person's liberty, and debase a person's equality, what will keep that government from taking human life? By the end of World War II, the Nazis and their collaborators murder over 2/3 of Europe's Jews. Not even Hitler could achieve this enormous atrocity alone. Inside the Reich, he needs obedient foot soldiers and complicit bystanders. Outside Germany, he needs allies. As an ally of Germany, Bulgaria becomes a partner to mass murder, willing to round up and transport all the Jews of the kingdom and its occupied territories to the Nazi killing center in Treblinka.
The Jews of Warsaw sent a courier to follow the trains. He learned that trains were arriving every day. They were arriving full, they were leaving empty. He learned that no supplies had been delivered to Treblinka. He learned that no latrines had been dug and no wells had been dug. And he had put together fragments of a picture, but still he had no understanding of the reality of what was happening. And finally he went to the train depot and he saw a prisoner who had escaped, who reported to him what he had seen. And he said, well, how am I going to be able to tell the people in the underground what happened? How will they believe me? And finally the prisoner, the escaped prisoner, turned to him and said, breathe deeply. There's an unmistakable smell to the burning of human flesh.
(1941). 3 million German soldiers invade the Soviet Union. Mobile killing squads round up Jews in the East and execute them with a bullet to the back of the head. Since bullets cost more than gas, the Nazis devise a cheaper and more systematic plan for mass murder. 1942. The Gestapo seizes this stately Jewish home outside Berlin and uses it to arrange the details of the war against the Jews. Every organ of the Nazi Party and every major ministry of the German government is represented at the meeting. Adolf Eichmann presents a map of Europe indicating the Jewish population of each country.
Every country, from Ireland in the west to Bulgaria and Russia in the east, were accounted for on Eichmann's list. Bulgaria, 48,000. That included me, all my family in Burgas and in Bitola. It was the death knell for all Jews of Bulgaria, in Greece, in Yugoslavia, for all the Jews of Europe.
Reinhard Heydrich, the SS chief who calls the meeting, expects opposition to the proposal of complete elimination of the Jews of Europe. None is voiced. This cozy little social gathering, as Eichmann calls it, finishes its grim business promptly and celebrates their agreement with cognac and cigars. The first phase of the final solution is to define Jews politically as stateless non-citizens and to identify them visibly by the yellow star. The next step is to arrest them, evict them from their homes, and concentrate them into ghettos. The last phase is to pack Jews into boxcars and send them on long journeys to death camps in remote places of occupied Poland.
I've interviewed hundreds of survivors. Everyone recalls their experience on the train. First of all, they were transported in cattle cars. And they were transported without provisions for urination and defecation. They had a bucket, maybe, and people had to sit in their own urine and their own feces. And the stench, the smell, the fear, the trembling. They had no food and no water. In the winter, they would freeze. In the summer, they would burn. They were in darkness as they were being transported to a place that was unknown. And when they arrived at this place and the doors opened, they thought they had just finished the worst experience imaginable.
Not even children are spared. This little girl from Bitola is standing in front of the Bulgarian boxcar that carried her in the dead of winter from Skopje to Treblinka. Nearly 1,600 kilometers.
Children were there with their parents and grandparents, whole communities were there. The Nazis had decided to kill all Jews, men, women, and children. And children were killed not because they were children, but because they were Jews. And they, in fact, were among the most dangerous of Jews because they had the longest period to live.
1943. Eichmann sends his deputy, Theodor Dannecker, to Sofia to arrange a secret agreement with Alexander Belov to carry out the